Well, we're on our way home. Where's our banana here? We're on our way home, and figured I'd check in after last night. Obviously, it was a little late when I got done racing, and the filly getting beat bothered me a little bit. I would imagine by the lack of response from our clients. It maybe bothered a lot of people a bit. So I'll unpack that in a minute. We'll talk about spend that money in Compass Rose DC. Both fillies were poor last night for two different reasons. I think spend that money. She's tired. You know, she's had a long year, and much like West 52nd was last year, this summer has really, really, really been hard on her. And I think probably the only logical thing to do, as I said in my video last night, was to simply turn the filly out. Make sure she gets on the green grass. I think trying to race her that last start in Delaware would be probably not the wisest move to make. Especially given the filly. I mean, she was training down well. She raced good right up until it got real hot, and then she fell apart. So she tried a 57. She made some money, but at the end of the day, I think pretty disappointing and anticlimactic stakes season outside of I guess her first two races. Compass Rose DC now for as I said, two different reasons. Compass Rose DC isn't tired, but she certainly wasn't herself last night. Now, I watched the replay a number of times. I talked to James. James said she was out of sorts. She wasn't trotting good, and she wasn't. You know, she sprung off the gate in all of her races virtually, at least where you could get spotted. Given the dynamic of the field, she should have been able to land down a close fifth and been a real factor in that mile, and she wasn't. And as I said, looking at the replay, she wasn't trotting properly. She wasn't comfortable. Now, with all the rain and everything going on, did she tie up a bit? It's possible. I think her blood will easily tell us, answer that question for us. Was she horsing? I don't think she was sick. And they scraped the track right before that race, maybe 40 minutes before that race. So that could have played a role in the way the horses raced also. Now, the easy answer, again, I don't want to come on and make excuses, and I didn't want to make excuses for anybody last night, but we had a torrential downpour. They scraped the track with a grader. The track was as hard as a rock. That could have played a role in Compass Rose DC also. Nevertheless, it doesn't matter what took place last night. It's over, and now she does have one race left in Delaware, and it's our job to make sure she's as good as she can be for Delaware. In regards to don't believe me, just watch. Raced in Clinton, raced well, I believe, but didn't get a great trip. It looks like he was first over. I talked to Jonathan Drury briefly after via text, and he said he was on the right line and running in. This was his first start on a half-mile track. Yeah, he's a small horse, but they all handle the tracks differently, and I haven't got a chance to talk to Kevin yet about what he thought was going on with him, why he was on that line, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing going on with the colt in that regard. He said he trained good this week. He was coming in sharp, so getting on the right line is a bad thing in Clinton because it's a lot of turns and they're all sharp there. So not a great mile from him, I think, overall, at least mathematically, but at the same time, he'll bounce back. I think he races in Mohawk next week. Now, on to globetrotting. Globetrotting, obviously with the rain, she's never raced in the rain before. The last time she was at Northfield, she made a break behind the gate. All this stuff is going through my mind. Going up to the gate, she felt good. And when we came out of the gate, she felt good. I could see that Aaron was trying to push through and put Brett in behind him. Brett wasn't that interested in going in behind. In hindsight afterwards, that filly swung to the pace. When you double horses up, they're more apt to get pacey. So Brett just had no point. He had no thoughts of going back in the two-hole. As I'm watching all this unfold, I can see Aaron glance over his shoulder. He's looking to see who's behind him and what I'm doing. I know what he's about to do. He's about to let Brett go and remove. We're on a half-mile track. I believe I have the best filly. Now I'm thinking to myself, do I want to move now and put her on the front and have them come to me when I don't think they can beat me? Or do I want to come first over with her? Which, I guess in hindsight, I wouldn't have had to that early. Well, that's not true. Peter Wren flushed Aaron just at the half-mile marker. So, obviously, on a half-mile track, I'd rather be commanding the pace. That's the first time that this filly has never just floated over to the lead. This is the first time I put her in gear at the quarter pole, and she was all business. Put her in gear at the quarter pole. I clear to the front, and I sink into her a bit. Now she's a little hotter. because this is the first night that I've ever started her up. I've let her float to the front, but I've never actually put her in gear to roll to the front. I got to the front, she was a little grabby. Somebody said, yeah, it's a really hot pace, the half killed her. Every race last night went fast. I mean, at 45 minutes later, they went in 49. I mean, yeah, it was fast, but when I got to half in 56 and 2, I felt she had lots left in the tank, and I thought she'd win in 54 and a piece. She was that good. Starting down the backstretch, Erin came. She felt a little softer than I could see now in my mind. I'm thinking, well, I still got the one horse. I think the horse in behind me is in a little bit of trouble. I can hear she making a little noise. The horse first over has already left, and now is first over, and I just don't think Guinevere Hall is good enough to beat us. I still think I'm a winner. Getting into the last turn, I could tell it's going to be a dogfight now. It's going to be a battle. I'm starting to get a little bit on fumes. 125 and 3. I'm thinking 30 and 1, 30 and 2. We're still going to hang on. It's a race. So I kicked the earplugs out. I opened up 3/4 of a length. She trots the last turn really good. The straightaway, she's a little tender, and I don't know if she's touching herself or whether something's bothering her. She did it in Scioto, but I never had to use her in Scioto. We come to the hell lane. I look over my shoulder. I still think I'm a winner. Halfway down the lane, I know it's going to be close. And obviously, it get picked off. I didn't want to bring it up after the race because I don't want to make excuses. We pulled up. The filly had a lot of mucus in her nose and stuff, and it's that time of year. It happens. Obviously, a very inopportune time to take place. But, yeah, I mean, as I said to James last night, there's no point in me saying she's sick or she's this or she's that. We get all that 56 and 2 and got beat in 57. This filly shouldn't have got beat. And maybe I should have just fought with her and backed her up a half in 57 in 1, 57. But I thought that I had the race under control. I thought she was going to be a winner regardless of what the half flashed up. She felt great. She just fizzled out a little bit. So was it a bad drive? Could have been. Was it a little bit sickness? Could have been that also. Was it a lot of other things? The track, the surroundings. Ava, come on, honey.
It won't turn down.
Well, then I'm going to throw it out the window. How's that? Deal?
No.
Oh, okay, good. So, it could have been a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I went to bed, a little upset with myself. Anytime you get beat with a horse you don't think you should, you get angry, especially when you look at the fractions of the race. I'm twice as angry at myself. But at the end of the day, it's a horse race. She didn't make a break. She finished second. We left there with $75,000, and affiliates got 152 made. Last night might have cost her divisional honors, I suppose, but we still got Delaware, and I hope I draw back in with Kiki Moore in Delaware. After Delaware, I think we have the Breeders' Crown. I know last night wasn't a great race, but when you compare it to all of our other races, I think it was anomalous. As I said to Greg, one of our partners, Greg, last night, if you look at the whole card of Northfield last night, the fillies have been better than the Colts all year. The Colts went 55 and 1 in a torrential downpour. I don't know if she was 100%. I'll take the blame. I mean, I got broad shoulders. There's not much I can do. We got one of the nicest fillies in Ohio, probably one of the top 5, I would think, in North America. And was she good last night? Maybe she was. Maybe last night was my fault. My take on it, obviously, is that I think she maybe wasn't 100%, but pretty close. And, she raced well. The one thing I can say about Globetrotting is she's tough. She bounced back. She bounced back after she got used when she made a break, and then she was tired going under the wire, finishing 4th. You could have said, and it was a conversation I'd had with a couple of our partners, that might take a lot out of her. And then she come back the next week with one of the most impressive miles I've seen a 2-year-old trotting filly put in quite a long time. And then last night, obviously, she was beat. So, at the end of the day, I woke up today. We had $75,000 more made with Globetrotting. And then we'll talk about Yes. We had $37,000 made more with Yes. I feel like you guys out there that gamble and you put $10 to win on a horse and it pays good. Part of you's happy that you won, and the other part's wishing you had to put $20 on. And it's kind of like that, right? I'm happy that we made $75,000, but I can't help but feel that we left $75 on the table. And if in fact she scopes good, and there was no scope last night at that time, so we'll get her scope tomorrow, but it still should be there. If she scopes good and her blood comes back good, then it's on me. And as I said, it's the toughest part of my job is the driving part, right? It'd be easier if I could just sit at home and watch them all race all the time, and it is what it is. In regards to Yes, I was gonna leave with Yes last night. Even coming up to the gate, the recall was a bit of a honey, just wait one sec. The recall was a bit of a pain in the butt, but they'd scraped the track and they left a full lane of mud up against the fence in the 8 path. Now it kind of coned away and you could go up onto the gate in the turn, but I want to put them on the gate first. So I get to the gate first. The only place I can go is in the 7 path and a little bit to the right. So I go up and I push over as close as I can get to all that mud. And then Tyler Smith comes and hooks my wheel from behind. Not really his fault. I was in at least half of his position, but we ended up hooked up and they caused a recall. So that may have worked in our favor. Matt Kakali's horse was hot and he pulls up and he goes, "What happened there?" And I said, "Well, it's going to plan. I thought if I caused a recall that it would get your horse hot and you'd make a break in the first turn." Now I know Matt really good. If I didn't know him good and we weren't friends, he might have taken that the wrong way because he did run in the first turn. So did the 2. Then Brett Miller ran at the quarter pole. Then another horse made a break. Around the last turn, for a split second, I thought, geez, we got a shot here. The 2 horse looked really vulnerable. Thanks, honey. The 2 horse looked really vulnerable, and Lena Stone's just a monster. So I'm thinking second, maybe Lone Lena Stone's going to get weak, and we're going to get him too. But third, nobody can be unhappy with a third with Yes. So on a night, I understand everybody would probably be upset with spend that money in the latter part of her season. And again, Compass Rose DC was disappointing. Globetrotting was good, and Yes was very, very good also. So on a night where I didn't sleep that great, we took home $115,000 or something from Ohio. So overall, it was a good night for us, a good night for the stable. The day before we got the win with White Tiger, and that was a huge weight off my shoulders. Just after having such a disappointing season and really sporadic, he threw up 5 or 6 really bad races, and then on Saturday we'd made some changes and he was very, very good. So right now I'm going to finish off the rest of pouring over the Illinois catalog. As I spoke to Angie Coleman, we're not going to overpay for any horses, but at the same time, I'd like to take home 1 or 2 Illinois breds, and then there's a Cadabra colt that we are going to be very interested in there. This is, I believe, he's a Cadabra colt out of his sister, the Credit Winner, which makes him very interesting to me. So we'll be back. All your videos should be out now. We'll be back again Monday night. I'm driving home. I'm racing Miss Brampton Beast tonight. Mario's Inland Beach. And then the big race this week will be Spirit of Dio in the Peaceful Way Elimination. Talk to you guys soon. Take care.